what a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Ranty Flat Earth, Sleeping Warrior, 10th Man, Flatzoid and Arwin in G+. Very good to have you all.
Hey, hey.
Good afternoon.
Good day.
Hello, and I've been fairly good at keeping you off mute in the Discord server, so hopefully a few of you will say hello. Hello, everyone in Discord server.
Morning.
Good morning. The only person who said hello was on mute.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So first and foremost, shout out to the latest member of Nathan Oakley 1980 channel, which is Eric 1111. So thank you very much for joining as a 1980 channel member. As I said in the intro, if you do want to join, there is a join button on PC and Android and a link below if you're on any other device. Should we crack on with a bit of housekeeping? Yay! Hooray for housekeeping! Yay! Oh, I'm glad you're all so enthusiastic.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Arwin.
Okay.
Damn. We should have done the Sean Hawkins thing with Arwin just then. That was a brilliant opportunity.
Was that Arwin?
Hey!
No, we don't need that level of swearing on a live show. Any evidence of a physical sphere edge capable of geometric measurement?
Yeah.
What?
What?
Oh?
What?
Oh.
What?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
There is evidence.
Well, how about a spherical Earth edge?
That's what I've asked for. Physical
There is
edge.
evidence.
Right, let's have it.
By Paula of a leading edge of a sphere. Would you like me to present?
Of course.
Okay. So screen share. Wow, it's been a while since I've done this. Where is screen share? There it is. Okay. Let's get rid of Sean Hawkins' face. Let's get rid of that. All right. So we all know that the Ballbusters show on the Quantum Eraser channel a couple of days ago presented evidence of a two platforms. Was it BMSL or whatever his name was? 69, I think it is. Forgive me, I can't remember his name. And he's basically presented evidence of two oil platforms behind the curve. Well, this is the $1 million question. I just want to get my other picture up so I can present it on screen. Here it is. So let's flick this over here. Should have been a little bit more prepared, but it's okay. Okay. So this is the picture taken from 1 foot off the water on the beach. And I've inverted it so it's in negative format. Oops. It's in negative format so that we can have the conversation about where the horizon actually is. Now, we'll notice that the bottoms of the platforms are obscured by water. There is a boat in the middle of the picture, and there is the obvious horizon line behind the platforms. It's our position that this horizon behind the platforms at 10 miles away from 1 foot cannot exist. On a ball, the horizon is 1.2 miles away, and it's right down here somewhere. And all of these two platforms must be behind it, and they would be level. That's our position. This picture cannot exist if we're on a sphere. So Hillbilly Blue Balls has put up a video recently, which I'm currently rendering my latest upload now, where he presents this picture. And this picture by Hillbilly Blue Balls, he claims is proof of Earth curve. Now, he claims that I've cherry-picked my picture to support the assertion that the Earth is flat by producing this one that shows that the Earth is curved. The problem is, if this was Earth curve, and it looks like it, because we can all see that the hard horizon is like, it seems to be very close to us. The platforms seem to be behind it, and that's the way it should look if the Earth is a sphere with the horizon at 1.2 miles. Now, I'm not going to go into why is the horizon at this height. I'm sure Ranty could talk about shoaling and tidal bore and all the other things that cause the water to ramp up as it's coming in. My point is that if this is Earth curve, it has to always be like this. And when they say refraction brings something back, it's got to bring back from behind the curve, right? On their model, it brings something back from behind the curve. The problem is, this image would never exist if, oops, let's make it bigger again. If the Earth really was a sphere, this image would never exist, because it's the existence of this picture that proves that we can't be on a sphere, because this would never, ever, 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 ever exist. The bottoms of the platforms, if it really were a sphere, they would be lined up with each other with a hard horizon, and then behind it you would get all the other loomed up stuff, because the horizon is their edge. That's what it is. So we should be seeing land behind it, or whatever, water or whatever behind it. This boat would be behind it. Everything would be behind it, but the composition of this picture relative to the horizon behind it proves that it can't be a sphere, because this picture would never, ever, ever exist. Does anybody disagree or not understand the point that's being made?
Riley, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I can disagree. Yeah, go ahead, Flatsoid.
On that picture that you put, you said this is what you should expect on a sphere. How would you know how it looks on a sphere if we actually live on a flat plane?
We're applying it to the geometric curve calculator that tells us that at their distance, it should be the horizon in the foreground at a mile away, then both platforms behind it and dropping, and this would support the assertion that we live on a sphere. It indicates that we live on a sphere, right?
No.
Let's not talk about why.
No. That's where I was going to object. If you assume that line that you keep calling the hard horizon, well, I didn't interrupt because I thought I hoped that you'd say at the end that is their edge. Well, on the assumption that based on a sphere model that would have an edge, that the point we see here where the sky appears to meet the ground is also a physical edge. So we have to make that assumption first. Now, under that assumption, you can say it matches with the mathematics that exclude perspective. Yes, you can make that declaration. We're still reifying a physical edge into existence, but based on us reifying a physical edge based on what a model says, this, when excluding all aspects of perspective and run through those maths which exclude perspective, would say this correlates with an assumption that you've got a physical edge that's obscuring things in the distance.
Bring up Walter Bislin's Earth curve calculator, please, Tony.
I will. Just give me 1 sec. In the video that Hillbilly Blue Ball cites, the guy that made the original video was put this. Most days, normal visibility of platforms and boats will appear they are behind the horizon. Appear being the operative word. They will appear they are behind the horizon of the Earth. So that's the starting point. The normal day, on the normal day with normal visibility, the platforms appear that they're behind the curve. And I guess this is what he's referring to. The issue is, why does the other picture exist? Because if this is supposed to be like in normal conditions and whatever, and that's supposed to be consistent with a ball, the other image can't exist. It does not exist real world. The horizon is never, ever, ever behind the platforms, ever. So it must be the case that something else is causing the higher tide in the foreground, because this can't exist. I wish Chocolate was here now to say it, but
well, he would say, "How'd you get the second pic? How'd you get this picture then? If the Earth is a ball."
So Walter Bislin.
Yes, please. If you just put the Walter Bislin Earth curve calculator up, and then you move that red marker just to show what would happen to a building that's being quote unquote loomed beyond a horizon, you'll get a pretty good idea of how the globe perceived this to happen. So just scroll down a tad.
Oops, I'm just trying to zoom in a bit. There we go. Scroll down a tad.
Yeah, just to go to the refraction part.
Oh, right. Okay, I get it.
You want to be able to move that refraction and see the objects move as well at the same time. There we go. What do you notice? The horizon always stays in the same position, and the object is always behind the horizon. So that first image that you showed, Tony, cannot exist in their model.
So let me get this straight, Ranty. Are you saying that the Walter Bisslin's curve calculator demonstrates that the second picture that we're beating our drums about cannot exist? Because if you can see it, actually, you can see that it rises up to the curve on their model, then drops behind the curve as it goes over the curve. Well, where is the horizon ever behind it unless, I mean, what's this one saying here at the full right?
Let me just summarize this. What you're demonstrating with this model is the physicality of Earth curve edge obscuring something in the distance. Now, that physical edge will always behave like a physical edge, regardless of how much you claim things beyond it are being loomed, with absolutely no justification beyond a begging the question fallacy, which is terrestrial refraction 7/6R, or a slider that increases or decreases that value. The point is, it's a physical edge that this depiction, whatever that thing is that's in orange and yellow, is going beyond, because it's physical. Your edge. That's what's being modelled. That's the end of the edge, and things are going over it according to your rhetoric. Remember, boats going over the edge? Yeah, that's what this is showing. Physicality to something we call the horizon. A not actual location that you cannot measure and has no geometry. It moves depending on the conditions. Now, the point that's being made by sliding this up and down is that the horizon is beyond this, which is representative of the oil rig, which cannot happen if it's a physical edge. Earth's
Nathan,
not a sphere.
What this is telling us. Nathan, look, I've realised what this is telling us. This is putting, basically, on the left-hand side, that is more curvy, more bally. On the right-hand side, it's flat.
Maxed
So
out,
basically, they apply more refraction and it goes behind the curve more and more and more. But that's what happens on their ball. But to flatten out the curve, they go more and more to the right. And all they do is they add a bit more refraction, right? Any amount of refraction will do. But look at how much refraction they've got to do to get the horizon behind the behind the platform. Oh, look, that's flat. You've got to put your refraction calculator flat to get it to look. In other words, it's flat because it can't be anything else. There's no curves being applied because they've modeled it back to flat, and that's what it looks like.
So in other words, it's just perspective.
Well, yeah,
no, in other words, their refraction
right.
calculator has to be pushed all the way to flat to get it to match what we see, because the horizon is behind the oil platforms. Well, the only way you can do that is by pushing it to flat, because flat's on the right outside.
Pushing their model. Pushing their model to flat. Their model, which excludes perspective and calls perspective Earth curve, as correctly identified by Flatzoid. Yes, this model is a bastardization of perspective. And the problem with that is that you'd need a physical edge in this bastardization. They don't have one. We have a not actual location called the horizon, which often can move beyond where a physical edge would allow it to be. And that's not an effective refraction. You can't loom a physical edge that's obscuring things beyond things they're supposed to be obscured by. It's preposterous and won't work, and admirably demonstrates we don't have a physical sphere edge reified into a position called the horizon. That's not what it is. It doesn't have a postcode. It's not physical, not capable of being measured with geometry. It's just a reification fallacy based on what they think the Earth is based on a sphere model. It isn't.
So when Soundly did his Lake Pontchartrain stuff, for them to explain it, they had to put the thing over here somewhere, because obviously if Pontchartrain's true, we're living on a basketball, right? So Pontchartrain was explained by putting the thing down here. But to explain the oil platforms, we've got to bring it all the way up to here, which is basically flat. So on the one hand, they argue it's down here for Pontchartrain to explain how it looks so small. But now they've got to say, oh, actually, we need to shove it all the way up to flat, because it actually is flat on the image that we're looking. This actually proves, because the horizon is behind the turbines and none of the ballers will address it, They will all do anything about. They'll deny it. They'll talk about something else. I mean, the only one baller that I
Hang on,
see
hang on,
this
hang
was
on,
Toby.
Anthony. Anthony, keep it right here on this picture with the negative that you have. Does everyone see the horizon is beyond the second platform? Does everyone see that?
What, the not actual
apparent
location?
horizon.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
Wait,
It's
the
it's obvious.
horizon? The horizon?
Okay,
So
Anthony,
the
go back to that.
is this, and then the horizon is behind it, and the only
No,
way
forget this. Forget this. Go back to your picture for a minute. Thank you.
Right.
You can't have this picture.
no,
Forget the calculator. Forget everything. According to their radius of 3959 at a 1 foot observer height, the curvature, the horizon, hard line for their globe cannot be further than 1.22 miles. It's over.
yeah, and this is
Over.
of course applying the concept that they believe that light follows a curved path, but it doesn't. They're lying to you about what light actually does. So I haven't cited these.
Nathan said it. Whatever they want to say is looming, it can't be the horizon. Got to be
Yeah, that's right.
objects.
Well, it can be if they misinterpret what looming is.
Well, they
And they
have.
do.
No,
Right, number
No,
one,
yeah,
they're
you're
not
right.
using. Number one, they're not studying any atmospheric effects. They're assuming terrestrial refraction. This slider that's being adjusted in this model isn't saying what were the conditions on the day. It's saying let's arbitrarily increase or decrease terrestrial refraction. No measurements are being made, so they're not actually confirming that looming is what's occurring. No. That would be an atmospheric condition. They're adjusting their model.
What I want to do, I want to cite these documents that M. Scott Veach managed to get removed from the internet, because we haven't had any good arguments to do with light for ages. I don't mean, don't just take that with a pinch of salt. These documents no longer exist online because M. Scott Veach did not like them, and I challenged him to get them removed if he didn't like them, and somehow he did. And one of the things, there's two documents I'm going to cite, and they're both directly to do with atmospheric phenomena, otherwise known as refraction. And this one from a guy called Gutierrez. He was trying to simulate how it looks like on a computer. And what he said was the simulation he's based his simulation on was based on three main points. Fermat's principle, which is on the trajectory of light, which yields the physically based description of the light path through a non-homogeneous medium with a continuously varying index of refraction. That bit's really important. It's not continuously getting stronger and therefore creating a curve. It's continuously varying both ways, right, up as well as down. And then I want to go to this next one, which this is from so this is a high school in somewhere, and the ballers laugh at this. They don't like this because it's just a high school, but it doesn't change the fact that they're citing what the actual current position is with light. And I start with just the introduction. It is well known that the Earth's atmosphere is not homogeneous because we do live in a gradient, right? As a result, light traveling in the atmosphere will undergo refraction, and the traveling path will, and this is the key bit, deviate from a straight line. It doesn't mean follow a curved path because it's going up and down a bit, up and down, up and down. It's like a wave. Now, don't get confused with the terminology here. I'm contrasting wave to curve because it's varying from point to point to point. Some of it's a little bit more refractive than others, but you're looking at generally a straight line. And we know that the effects of refraction overall are negligible. And this is the bit that they hate, because when I say under standard circumstances, the effects of refraction are negligible, if you pull up the word negligible, it says so meaningless or not worth talking about. So why is the whole argument so important about refraction, but it states in the actual science that the effects of refraction are negligible? And when it talks about the non-negligible, it talks about things called inferior mirage, fata morgana, fata brumosa.
Can I answer you? Let me answer. Because they are two different things. One is real. You're describing it now. Actual atmospheric conditions. What may occur in the actual atmospheric conditions that we observe. The other is an arbitrarily applied 7/6R to a model we don't live on.
Yeah. So I'm just wrapping up my my latest video, and it's going to be uploaded in time for the end of this show. And it's basically Sean Hawkins and Blue Marble Science telling us, trying to respond to the oil platforms video, and basically they're lying to everybody. They're lying by omission, not overtly lying. They're just not telling you the truth. So I'm just going to finish my presentation with this on screen, just so everyone can see it. Go on, Tenth.
Anthony, yeah, let me just say this. Just today's show, not saying anything about the ball busters that's going to be repeated, I believe, next Tuesday by QE again. Just today's show, the back and forth. This is enough with just the pictures you showed and the commentary that the audience gets it.
Yeah, great presentation.
Some of them
Great.
don't. No,
audience
you're
gets
wrong. I've got to stop you. No, you're wrong. There are plenty of thickos that watch those channels detailed that will just assume the debunking is sound regardless. So no, those are actually the people Anthony's appealing to. Now, in spite of my protestations that it's fruitless, and you're doing the same, but saying, no, the audience will get it. Well, no. I've just got to shout out a super chat, I'm sorry. Light energy. Per sphere argument, why does curve appear shorter distance, but not left to right on water? Shouldn't the curve be more obvious on the latter? Well, no, because they're using the horizon as a reified sphere edge to obstruct things, as opposed to measuring actual curvature. Now, if you look in the advanced tab on Mick West's calculator, there is a section that they would claim that you can measure ground level curvature, and was claimed to be evident in the Isle of Man composite, i.e. if you wrap around several images, you're supposed to be able to see left to right curvature according to their mathematics. Now again, it's in the begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking curve calculator that is only applicable to a model we don't live on, and utilises terrestrial refraction, sod all to do with the actual atmospheric conditions. And also, moreover, to answer your question, Light Energy, thank you very much for the super chat, they're reifying the horizon into a sphere edge to make these assertions. Thank you very much indeed for your super chat. Did you want to...
Nathan,
go on, Tenth, man.
respectfully, I would disagree with what you said, Nathan, and I'll explain if you want me to.
Yeah, if you think the audience will get it. I know they don't.
Yeah. Well, when I say audience, I'm thinking of a different audience. When you said audience, you're thinking of the thickos. So I'm talking about people who could clearly see two pictures and Chocolate's valid statement. You can't have the first one if you say what you're saying about the second one. So how'd you get the first one?
Well, by believing there's another type of refraction going on beside the actual empirically proven
You
refraction,
can't
which is negligible.
Arwen, we already stated you can't loom the horizon.
Yeah, but they believe they can.
I don't care. They're crazies in
It
white
doesn't matter what
jackets.
they
Right.
believe.
Well, they
at
believe
Bellevue.
gravity is a thing too, even though they can't really point out what it actually is and
Yes, that's
agree
right.
upon that.
Okay,
They
let
still
me
do
let
it.
me explain it another way. Assume I work at a mental institution as a assistant to the doctors, and then when I come home, I tell my family about what happened that day. And after a few months, my family says, "Stop talking about that. They are what they are. They're crazy. You're working at a crazy institution. We don't care what they say. They're there and you're trying to help them get better. I'm not here to diagnose their cognitive dissonance. I'm here to show truth and the evidence for it, and the audience gets it." Now, which audience am I referring to? The ones that see two pictures and could clearly think, well, you can't have that other one if you have this one. So what are they saying?
I
Globe
understand.
dies. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
But I have a rebuttal to that, though, and that is that, hey, there's people watching this that aren't necessarily hardcore ballers right away, that, well, they may need a little extra protection to basically give them a heads up as to what the ballers are going to respond with, because they might not be used to that level of doublethink and all, and still be fooled. So by preemptively explaining exactly what they're going to do and getting it right, we're getting even more weight for the outsider viewers.
Well, you answered a question that wasn't even on the table. The question is this, or the statement is this, to validate the truth, to where I said the audience gets it. At a 1 foot observer height, based on their math of 3959 radius, the horizon cannot be further than 1.22 miles. Now, notice what that says, cannot be further. Now, it could be less because of obstruction, of fog, or other atmospheric conditions. But physically on their globe math, it cannot be more than 1.22 miles. So here we are at a 1 foot observer height on a clear day where we're under all the junk, as we like to say, and we could see past the second platform well over 9.41 miles away. So that cannot exist ever on a globe. End
Yeah.
of story.
I heard you the first time.
Okay, so why are we arguing what they think when you show them proof?
Because they still apply other machinations on top of that.
Let's
Well,
Like
let them,
R-based
hold on,
refraction, which
hold
is
on.
fictional.
I know that Anthony's got an answer to this because we discussed it this morning in terms of who he's appealing to and why he's appealing to them. So can't we just get an answer from the horse's mouth? Thank you very much for the presentation, by the way, Anthony.
No worries.
In a way, to be
Not you, Arwen. Arwen.
What?
Sleeping Warrior has specifically got a target audience in mind, which is being challenged by 10th Man, and he's saying, well, no, I'm talking about the non-thicko audience. Okay. Well, go ahead, Anthony.
So was I. So was I.
Arwen, I want Sleeping Warrior to clarify his presentation and who he's appealing to, please.
To be honest, we all know that a lot of these protagonists on their side will never, ever, ever concede any points. But my target audience is them people, because we have stupid people that are preaching the gospel, like Sean Hawkins, Blue Marble Science, Conspiracy Cats, Sean Huffrod, Miles the Liar Davis. These are not, most of the time, these are normal Joe blogs like you and I, but they're preaching this bullshit. And I'm appealing to them because I know they're never going to change their mind. But if I appeal to the normal audience like everybody does, the normal audience gets it. But I just want to talk to them directly because, well, we can't debate them because it always ends up being a shit show because they won't ever accept anything. They end up doing what Brenda does. And I just want to see these people basically wriggle and squirm their way out of this. And I'm not going to let go of it. So my audience really is the drongos that push this stuff, not the audience, drongos that push it, like Sean Huffrod, Blue Marble Science, Sean Hawkins, Jose Gonzalez. All of these morons, that's who I'm appealing to.
Well, I would say to that this. That's fine now that I know your context in which you said it. However, when I'm with people who think the same way I do, there's no contrast. We're all nodding our heads, having a beer, smoking a cigar, and saying, hey, yeah. But when I have one of them on the other side, and I could get some traction by asking good questions, showing them, for example, this evidence of the 1.22 miles and all that, I don't want to go into it, but all of that, what that suggests. And I said, well, what make you of this? If you believe in the ball, how can this happen? That's the moment of that's the moment of magic I'm waiting for anyone watching us do that debate over that subject to say, oh, well, that's pretty good evidence. You can't have that if the Earth is a globe. End of story. That's what I'm looking for.
I'm just wondering how many times did they need to slide the refraction calculator all the way up and down to explain their nonsense? When the reality is on this one, you've got to go basically to flat because you can't have any curve at all whatsoever. Now, even though you can slide the slider up and explain it, all the science tells you that light varies from point to point to point. It does not follow a gradiented path the way that you believe it does. It's the actual science that tells you the truth. It's not the story. It's not the model. It's not the people pushing it. Light doesn't curve in the atmosphere. It varies from point to point applying Fermat's principle. Snell's law does not apply. There's no change in medium. You need a change in medium for Snell's law to apply. Water vapor is less dense than the water that you're looking, or the air above the water. When less dense water vapor, light travels through it, it bends away from the norm. It bends up. So when you're looking across water and there's water vapor involved, that's going to bend it the opposite way and make it look more curvy. Not flat, more curvy. Ballers ignore the science. They tell you the story. They all sit around there, 10 of them all together, and they all go, yeah, like they do in government, and they all agree with each other. But light doesn't follow a curved path, guys. It varies from point to point.
But don't you also need a barrier for Snell's law to work?
Yeah, you need a medium change. You need a barrier.
Why don't you just call it deflects? It doesn't bend, it deflects in a
varies.
corner.
We're doing it
It
again.
doesn't
Doing it
it
again.
doesn't bend.
Sorry, we need to draw some clarity. One is in a model, the other is in reality. Whereas we seem
Thank
to
you.
be slipping between the two like they're comparable.
Yeah, Anthony, if you want to change the subject to their model and what it does and what it doesn't do and state it as a model, that's a different subject. I'm still on the picture that could not be taken if we're on the globe.
Yeah, I agree. Just because they can slide the refraction the bullshitometer up and down to explain stuff, doesn't mean that that's what's going on real world. Sure, you can model it, but I could model anything and say it's true. But it's the reality that you've got to look at, and you've got to look at the science, not the model, the actual science. Light does not bend; it varies from point to point, and that can go up as well as down. And when you realise that water vapor is less dense, when it's less dense, the light bends up. It kills their model, guys. Don't let them get away with refraction. It doesn't follow a curved path.
Right, we've had half an hour on the first housekeeping question. Any more comments on the reification of a physical edge into the not actual position we call the horizon?
Yes,
Go ahead.
the last statement Sleeping Warrior said, give them all the refraction they want. It doesn't change that picture.
Spurs.
Ranty. Go on
Ranty.
mute, Ranty.
Ugh.
Yep.
Noob.
Right, let's move on. Any evidence of Earth curvature?
Not from Crescent Bay.
It's not
I
curving.
think we kind of demolished it.
Yeah, after we got the horizon not being the leading edge of a sphere out of the way, it's kind of difficult to, even more difficult to back up the claim now. That there would be any
It doesn't
kind
have
of
to be the
curvature.
horizon. Then you don't have to utilise that particular reification fallacy to potentially prove that we have Earth curvature. If we're on a
But
sphere,
it
this
is
should
one
be
of
easy.
the more, but it is one of the more personal, convincing things, little trinket illusions that that could go along with it, preliminarily.
That's lovely.
Anyway,
Any
yeah.
evidence of Earth curvature?
No.
Well, there is a interesting, how can I put it, in the sailing world that I'm researching, they're talking about 600 miles where you just use plain trigonometry. Because for 600 miles, it doesn't need to be spherical trigonometry.
Nautical
600
miles.
miles.
Nautical
Yeah.
miles. Yeah, this is something that Eason Mahorski focused on about 8 months ago. I think he still does. He still titles some of his song videos about the nautical miles that are considered flat.
So was that square miles or miles squared?
I'm pretty sure it's square miles,
Yeah.
but yes, I remember that argument too, Owen. Any evidence of axial rotation?
On a car?
Oh my god.
What?
But you're sorting out an audio issue, which is why I didn't add that. Any evidence of Earth-based axial rotation?
Stars in the southern skies. Nathan.
Earth-based axial rotation.
Stars. I want my stars argument.
Sorry, is that Earth-based?
I want my stars argument, Nathan. Let me have.
What? You want your stars argument? You want to formulate a fallacy
I
about
don't have any
stars?
Earth-based Earth curvature, Earth rotation arguments. I want my stars one. Let me have them, please.
But maybe you could philosophically argue that if everything is relative anyway, then it doesn't really matter whether the universe is turning around the Earth or the Earth is turning around in between the universe. That way you could, from a relative perspective, you could say the Earth is turning, if you presuppose everything else.
Yeah,
by the
and I'm
way.
asking for evidence of the latter. Any evidence of that?
No.
There's models, Nathan. There's models of it.
I don't live on a model. I don't care what a model does.
I know, but globers have models.
That's lovely. How nice.
But the math works.
I'd rather have flesh and blood models.
Math is abstract. Ugh. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
No. They
What
don't
type-
even know what it is.
What type of gravity?
I don't care.
Scientific evidence of an effect?
I don't
Accelerating
care.
cup.
Don't care. Any scientific evidence of gravity? Oh,
No.
I think Fuzzy Ewok's trying to speak and he's on mute. Hold on a second. Go ahead, Fuzzy Ewok.
So I know this is begging the question a little bit, but so the sun's gravity is what's pulling the Earth in the heliocentric model throughout the cosmos, yes, and all the other planets and everything, right?
Yeah,
So-
the Earth's falling
but
around
yeah.
the sun in an orbit in their model. Yes.
Right. So, and then whenever we ask about gas pressure without a container, everyone says, well, I mean, the gravity's holding the atmosphere, the little gas molecules, right? So-
They might say that, but no, gravity's not a force.
Well, that's what. Well, of course, no, in there, right? Yeah. So, if the sun is gravity is theoretically whatever powerful enough to carry all of the planets and moon and all of that stuff with it, does that mean that it's not strong enough to pull the gas off of said planetoid? Like, this
You're
doesn't make any
asking,
sense.
you're asking me to reverse their doublespeak into the assertion of its weak force. Is that what you're trying to do? Because that's not
Well,
the
no,
current rhetoric. The bending of space-time. So there's no force involved. I mean, that leaves you with two problems. One, how are you going to validate it? Two, how are you going to then assert that you've got a force holding the gas pressure here? Well, these aren't our problems. They're just holes in the rhetoric.
No, I appreciate that totally, but I don't understand why, if you present that to someone who thinks that gravity is one of these forces that they claim, even though it's not, and it's not the bending of space-time, how do they get over that little hurdle of a big hole of the fact that if it's strong enough to do that, but it's not taking the air away?
Well, I'll tell you the answer.
They
This is not real. And in the same way as you can have a plot hole in a movie and you can just discuss the plot hole, but it doesn't affect the fact that the movie's been edited and laid down and you've watched it the way it is and it's going to remain that way. Well, the rhetoric will remain that way, despite there being glaring holes in it. That's just the rhetoric of a religious belief in a sphere Earth, that there's been many people under the impression that a model is their reality. Well, there's a lot of holes with the comparison between the model and reality, but overall, you should just recognise we don't live on the model.
Okay, cool. So in that case, then no scientific evidence of gravity.
Any valid scientific hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Shout out to Danny Faulkner.
That would be a glaring no.
That retracted.
Retracted.
Well done.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No.
No.
What's the sun?
Oh, no, there was.
Good
There was a
question.
Thompson satellite or something. I can't remember what the name of it was now, but I've not heard anything about that since.
Good question. What's the sun? Any evidence that you can have gas
An
pressure?
apparent light disk. Oh.
Go on, Alwyn. Go ahead.
It just seems to be what we see or what is perceived optically as an apparent sun disk, a light phenomena at the epicenter of where the daylight comes from in relation to the observer's position on the Earth. But yeah,
That doesn't tell us
what's
what
the
it
distance?
though.
Is it even a physical thing? It's just that's what we see.
Don't you do geometry?
On what? What is it again?
I'm just claiming what they claim. We don't do geometry. Trick.
Yeah, we don't need to get all triggered here.
Fair enough. Any evidence that you can have gas pressure, hey chocolate, without the necessary antecedent of a container?
No way.
Good morning.
Can you have chocolate without milk?
Chocolate without milk? Yeah, you can.
Dark chocolate, baby.
Can you have gas pressure without a container, though.
No, you can't.
Oh, I had another idea about this the other day about antecedents and how Anthony always uses he wants to use dog shit as a must have dog, but then we used honey and bees, right? At some
Yeah.
point.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
What about banana peel? That's pretty cut and dry.
Yeah, that's good as well.
Dog shit's better.
No, it's not. It begs the
Also,
question.
did I miss the Matrix episode?
No. Dog shit's useless because it begs the question. It in itself is a fallacious argument to assert that it's dog shit. Because it's dog shit? Well, no, it's just shit, other than you adding the word dog on, assuming that it's come out of a dog. When this came up last time, I used steak, and I only said steak. Now, you could have tuna steak, you could have beef steak. Now, my joking rebuttal, was to say, no, I asked the chef, and he said it was beef. So that's why you end up with this. You've got to take it as read that the chef's correct. Well, no, the better antecedent consequent relationship would be honey bee or banana and banana peel, because if it's a synthetic version, then it isn't banana peel anymore. Or if it's a synthetic version of honey, it's not come from a bee. It's not honey.
Right. You are right. If you say dog shit, it does beg the question. You're right. I just like the analogy because everyone knows that you need a dog for dog shit, right? I get your point. I just prefer saying dog shit because it's a good thing to say.
I know that. I know you know the reason why we don't use it, and I also know that you just want to say the words dog shit on a live show. I know all of these things, and I know that's why we've just had this conversation. Frustrating though it is for me.
Nathan, I remember back in the early days when we used to argue over, like in the Isle of Man stuff, when we were arguing over refraction, and we were well into their arguments to do with, well, where did they get the heights from, and is this down to a geoid and all this? And the further down the rabbit hole you go, the deeper into their model you go, you're basically trapped within their model, and you're begging the question. But the reality is, you don't even have to go into their model, and we've realised that now with Coriolis, with refraction, with a lot of stuff. It's only in their model where this argument exists. In their model, not in science, not in the
Music to my ears, Anthony.
You put me on screen, Nathan?
I can. Is this anything to do with the R value I'm about to ask about?
Radius. So I suppose you could sort of include it in that.
You're
Maybe
on.
not.
I was going to ask any evidence of Earth radius, but you're on screen anyway. Go ahead.
Okay, so this is for the audience that didn't come to your after show yesterday, because at the end of yesterday's show, I said I was going to present something that Slice Arcade had modelled that essentially proves that, this image here in the centre, the one that I took of these turbines, is more of a flat Earth proof than a globe Earth proof. And I also want to prove that the modelling of said looking through the camera at either a flat plane or a globe that Slice Arcane did as well. So he put the distances in, the height of the turbines, etc. And he showed what it would look like through the camera, one on the right and one on the left. Now, one of these is on a flat plane and one of these is on a globe. So I'd like the audience to have a guess which they think is the flat image and which is the globe, because to the layman, when you just look at it, you can barely tell any difference. And this is the point that I want to make, is that when you see this type of effect on these wind turbines and they're getting smaller with distance and they start to paddle the water, it happens on both. You can model it on a globe or a flat, and it will still look pretty much the same. It's very hard to distinguish one from the other. So I'm going to reveal which is which, because you know this, Nathan. The one on the left was modeled on a flat plane, and the one on the right was modeled as what it would look like on a globe. And both of these are through the camera, through the P900, with the same focal length, the same height of the turbine, same distance, everything that you can think of that would give you what it would look like on both modeled out. And would you believe it, that this line here, which is slightly, which isn't as severe as this line here, because you can see the feet are dropping down a little bit more. This one on the flat plane matches up more to this image than this one. So thank you, Slice Arcade.
No worries, I've got an extra bit to add on before I thank you. So can you zoom in onto the right-hand image that shows how these turbines bend around the sphere. Now, obviously, this has been given some artistic license by Slice by Arcane because, according to them, this line is a physical edge that's obscuring your view. Now, despite the fact that this is in their reification of a globe world, a physical edge that obscures your view, in his interpretation, he's showing you just how much they are actually going around a curve. So are we all clear on that before I give my little addition to this presentation visually? We all clear that what this is showing is just how much they go over and around in a curving motion. We're all clear on that, yeah?
Yeah.
Over an actual curve.
Well, they're curving. That's what he's showing, just how much they're curving. So now I'm going to show you what Ranty put together after the fact. What we've got on screen now is the same picture. It's looking down the line of these wind turbines. So albeit ever so slightly 1 degree maybe off, he's looking from one at, I think it's 11 miles. I can't know the exact numbers off the top of my head. It's months ago. And the furthest one is at 13 miles, or there or thereabouts. So we're seeing the exponential effect of it curving around the sphere as depicted in the image that's just been shown to you. So I'll put that back up once more. This is how much they're curving, because it's going around a curve. Now what Ranty then did was he went side on to these claimed to be going over a curve turbines. The current closest one at, I think it's actually 9 miles and the furthest at 12 miles or something like that. But the closest being the closest. And when you draw a line along them side on, you'll notice that there's absolutely no curving whatsoever occurring in the image. Now, by coincidence, if you can zoom back out, Ranty, just for... By coincidence, the effect described by perspective would show them getting smaller with distance, creating the illusion that can be interpreted, if you ignore perspective, that they're going over a curved edge. But they're not. They're absolutely unequivocally level and flat. Now, in this depiction on screen now, you can also see that there are more distant turbines. That's why there's multiple lines. Now, the more distant turbines, again, surprisingly, have succumbed to the effect of perspective and are lower down in the picture because they're further away. That's perspective. But they're all completely level when you pan on 90-degree angle to them. I mean, in actuality, looking at them from 90 degrees, as opposed to taking the original image, which I'm going to put back on now, and presenting it in Muppet Vision, an orthographic representation, a false 90-degree side-on presentation of this that would show them going over and curving. But they're not. They're flat.
Well said, Nate.
Thank you, Ranty. Great presentation. And yeah, check out Nathan Oakley channel if you're not subscribed already, where we have many of these conversations that don't necessarily make it to the live show.
Afternoon, guys.
Hey, Adam.
How you doing?
Can I just say, Adam is ace.
Thank you very much, sir.
Hey, Adam.
I always remember when we were kids, we'd say that you'd say, "Oh, you're ace, mate. You're ace." You'd say, "Yeah, I know. A crap effort." Sorry to go back to the playground there. Just remind me.
Can I just read the Rumpus's chat?
So bad.
Let me just read the Rumpus's chat to Ranty. It says in the main chat, it says, Ranty Flat Earth, you twat. On a flat Earth, the bases of the wind turbines can never be obscured beyond the wave height. Is he correct, Ranty?
No.
Well, that means that Rumpus is a twat because he's lying again to everybody.
What,
Which is where
Mr. Air
Rumpus
is not the
is
atmosphere? I wouldn't be too concerned about Rumpus
Can-
and what he
can you-
states. He's a moron.
Can you say what did Rumpus say about the wave?
Said, on a flat Earth, the bases of the wind turbines can never be obstructed beyond the wave height.
So water and waves are one level all the time? Is that what he's referencing?
If he was to draw it on a piece of paper, he'd draw it in Muppet Vision. He would put the turbine, then he would put the observer 6 feet above the ground, and he would have a parallel line up to the base of the turbine and say that it's unrestricted. He would completely ignore perspective.
Let me ask you a couple of questions, Anthony. So if you've got a 10-foot wall and it's about, I don't know, let's say it's out, and for some reason it's protruding up through the waves in this image. If you're at, I don't know, a mile away from that 10-foot wall, can you see it?
This reminds me of Joshua. He asked this exact question, didn't he?
Yeah, shout out to Joshua. So if
Shut
you've
up-
got a
shut
10-foot
up,
wall
Richard.
at, let me just let me lead you. If you've got a 10-foot wall at about a mile, you've got various equipment to look at it with. Can you see it? And to
10
use
foot from a mile with a P900, yeah, I reckon you could see that.
right. So not, let's use Rumpus's vernacular, obstructed. You can see it.
No, I could see it.
You can see it. What about at 200 miles?
No, that'd be silly. That'd be like thinking, Nathan, that you could see New York from England.
Oh, preposterous! It's way too small to see. But
Damn.
it's not being obstructed. It's just too small to see.
Yeah, correct.
So in their mathematics, utilising Muppet vision that removes all aspects of perspective, and you did what you suggested. Draw you on the left-hand side of the page, draw your 10-foot wall on the right-hand side of the page, and write 250 miles on the line between them. If you remove perspective, as per the Earth curve calculation, would you still be able to draw a line between them?
Of course. And it would be unobstructed.
And it would be unobstructed. And yet it would be too small to see if you push the distance out to 250 miles. If you were actually looking at it, it's just too small. Not obstructed, just too small.
Correct.
So why would he use the word obstructed? What do you think in his mind it's being obstructed by?
I don't know, Nathan. There's nothing in Muppet vision that would ever obstruct it.
No.
Ooh, can I say?
Of course you can, Chocolate. Go ahead.
They think they have an edge, a physical edge of a sphere that's obstructing things.
Oh,
That's what they
right.
think.
So when he
Let-
puts
let
it in
me-
Muppet
Sean
Vision, there's never an edge on a flat Muppet Vision representation. Whereas in his curved edge Muppet Vision representation, he's got an edge that can obscure things. Oh, right.
Yeah.
It's funny how
Sean
some of these fundies at the moment are denying that the sphere's got an edge that can obscure things or have boats go over it. Amazing. You fundies, globeheads, you've got an edge. It's that thing that the Rumpus thinks is obscuring shit when he removes perspective.
No, you don't understand. With a big enough telescope, you can see your own ass.
No, you've got to get it right. You've got to say it right. On a clear enough day with a powerful enough zoom and a bit of Paul's maths, you can see your own ass in a telescope.
Shout out to Verum. Sorry, 1 sec. Shout out to Verum for the super chat. Really appreciate your support. It says Big Chungus would love to come on the show. I don't know who Big Chungus is, but wonderful. Thank you for the super chat, Verum.
Don't forget, air is not the atmosphere.
Big
Atmo.
Chungus is a fat Bugs Buggy, isn't it?
Bugs Bunny? Fat Bugs
Yeah.
Bunny?
Yeah, you know when there's the big fat Bugs Bunny in the cartoons, and that's apparently Big Chungus. It's something my kids are saying, Nathan. Oh, you Big Chungus, and stuff like that.
Oh,
But as far as I'm aware, it's the
Behind the
cartoon
times
character
now,
when
none of us know it.
Bugs Bunny's fat.
So we're all behind the times now. None of us are up to date with the current kids' lingo.
You're just not down with the kids, man, is you?
Well,
Neither are my Tony, as you can tell from that response. It's just my kids tell me things.
I'm not either. Hey, listen, Nathan, it's 2:55. My premiere starts bang on 3:00. So when this live show finishes, straight over to my channel and watch the response for these two lying little weasels who cannot tell you the truth.
Give us a link and I'll stick it in the live chat so that when the live stream ends, the live audience have got somewhere to go. Can you stick it in Master
Hey,
B?
Adam.
Where do you want the link?
Master B.
You've got to plug it better than that. You've got to tell them the channel name, Tony.
Be here or be sphere for Sleeping Warriors premiere. The two Muppets exposed. It's going to be epic on the Sleeping Warrior channel straight after this live stream.
That was brilliant.
That's how to do it.
I have a correction for Adam.
Oh,
I knew there was a pun coming.
No, it's the chimichanga actually.
The chimichanga's a sauce, isn't it?
Nathan,
No,
check.
it's a deep fried burrito.
Ah, that's it. Yeah. Mm.
You need to plug my one now, Nath.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, he does. Brenda's toe tag. Brenda's toe tag on Rancy Flat Earth channel. Tune in.
Nathan, check the
No,
Master B chat.
that's so 2 hours ago.
Did you have to take the shoe off to toe tag or what?
No, you don't.
Right, so the link's gone out. So hold on.
No, she can take her shoes off and leave at the same time.
Joking aside, so yes, if you're in the live stream audience, there's a link below, and once this live stream finishes, I'll try and end it on the hour. Go straight over there and check out Anthony or Sleeping Warriors video, which is on Sean Hawkins and Blue Marble Science. Is that correct?
Yeah, Sean Hawkins. He's the one that says that there's no edge on a sphere. Like, so what the boats go over then?
So what's Rumpus talking about when he says stuff should be or shouldn't be obscured when you put it in Muppet Vision? What's he talking about? What's obscuring what now? You fucking fundies. Your edge. They've got an edge. I think it's brilliant.
To the point where they have to redefine what a wave is.
A wave?
They don't have an edge, Nathan.
Yeah,
no.
the ocean
They
wave.
need an edge. They haven't really got one in reality, but their model's got one. Doesn't work when they reify it into the horizon.
You know,
It's just a shame.
I personally prefer models that have actual tangible features.
You're talking
Like
about women now. That was really poor.
That have actual curves and actual globular shapes on them, empirically provably so.
Yeah, we got your slightly pervy pun.
Hey, I've been single for 5 years, okay? What do you want?
Fuck. My language is getting terrible. 5 years? Okay. That's a hell of a dry patch.
Oh, let's not go there.
Dry patch?
Yeah. Dry spell, whatever you want to call it.
No, it's just the aftermath of falling very seriously in love with somebody.
Oh.
Doesn't matter. Let's not have this conversation. It'll bring down the tone.
Aww.
Oh.
Hey, I'm over it.
I should bloody hope so.
Otherwise, I
5 years
wouldn't be
later.
making these jokes.
You are not over it. Don't be silly.
Break your heart.
Right. Any more dumb fucks out there think that we live on a sphere, or have we killed them all now?
What, in the last hour? No, there's 99% of the Western world still believe it, Anthony. I'm really sorry we didn't achieve that much in this show.
Morons, these guys, pushing the ball.
I have a very quick image of Nathan.
They're not doing a good job, Anthony, pushing the ball.
60 seconds to go, Nathan. You might as well round it out.
All right, I'll just stick the link in one more time.
Flat Earth Early Bird Show, 2 p.m. Amsterdam time every day on Arwin channel. Whee!
Shout out.
Yeah, I'm putting the link in. So yes, as I say, as soon as I've done this outro, be here or be sphere on Sleeping Warriors channels. And with that, I'll say if you are watching this on Nathan Oakley channel, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live and you're about to hop your way over to Sleeping Warriors channel, then this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all the new channel members, people who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on the premiering stream, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!